everybody's finally here. We're ready to get started. Looks like we have a packed house today, as usual. All right, so I've got some slides to go through, and then we're going to go and get on to the interesting things. But, you know, as always, we have to go through some housekeeping first. So, first things first, how many people have seen me before? Raise your hand. Okay. Those of you who've seen me in the last couple months, tell me what's different. Anybody want to volunteer? What's different about me? I got a haircut. Someone said it. Yes. All right. Anyway, if you're looking for a job in open source or AI, please do scan this. I have a long running list of candidates and resumes and stuff that I send to people who ask about this. If you are, okay, so this was originally for a DevRel person at SF. This has changed a little bit. If you are someone who has DevRel experience and experience running teams, there's a company local to SF that is looking to hire a head of DevRel. If that sounds like you, if you know how to run a developer growth program, this would be something that might interest you. Yes. You just got a job offer. All right.
Keep your options open.
He just got it. Like literally, like when did you get this job offer? Today? 2 days ago. He just got it. He hasn't even started yet. All right. Anybody else seen this slide? No? Okay. Anybody need this slide? No? Okay. This is a very important slide. Okay, so yesterday I tweeted about this. Yesterday, I was 64 followers away from 10,000 on LinkedIn. Okay, so once I get 10,000 followers on LinkedIn, I will officially be a LinkedIn micro influencer, and it will be a great ego boost. So if you would like to help me boost my ego, please go and follow me on LinkedIn. Create new accounts and go follow me on LinkedIn with your new accounts. Please, just let me get to 10,000 by the end of the year. All right, this is the most important slide I see. Yes, thank you. All right, no one else has their phones out. Okay, on January 20th, we have another one of these events. So if you have liked the 30 minutes that you have experienced of this event, please take out your phones and sign up for this event on January 20th and come back in about 6 weeks. So normally we do these events on Mondays, and this is a Monday. This event is about 6 weeks away, and the reason why it's 6 weeks away is because nothing happens in the last 2 weeks of December, and nothing happens in the first 2 weeks of January. So third week of January, that's when this event is going to happen. Hope to see some of you there. I know from experience that a lot of people will sign up and then like 3 people will come. But hey, if I see some of you again, that'll be great. I believe this is the last note. One last note. This is a company that is based in Seattle that we have a partnership with that is looking to help do O1, EB1, and EB2 visas for founders and extraordinarily talented individuals. If you are a founder of a company and you are an immigrant to the US, or if you are an extraordinarily talented individual based on your own evaluation, you can sign up, fill this out, and talk to the team there. They're an AI law something company. All right, so that's all from me. We have 3 speakers today, and then there's followed by a short break, and then a set of 15 2-minute demos. The 3 speakers are from Pinecone, Comet, and Komodo AI. So our first speaker is Cory.
Thank you very much. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Okay, great. All right, thank you for coming out. We're going to talk about some new Pinecone AI tools. And I apologize in advance. These things are so new that I've not had time creating demos for them yet. We literally announced these over the last week. A little bit about me. I've been at Pinecone now for 2.5 years, but I've been working with distributed data systems for over 20 years. If you want to connect on LinkedIn, that's my QR code right there. If not, then that's fine. Okay, so jumping right in. When you work with RAG, a typical RAG pipeline is going to have multiple components to it. Obviously, you have your corpus of vectors. Beyond that, the initial retrieval, whatever that number is, typically small. You're going to run that through a re-ranker to get more specific context, and then that's all going to come out to generate a single response from the LLM. So you might start with 10 million vectors, get an initial 50, winnow that down to 5, all to get one response. So there's a lot of hoops jumping through there. The architecture will typically look something like this, where you have the user inputting their text, you have the hosted models and the index all separate. Again, a lot of hoops to jump through just to get an answer to your end user. So what we're doing is we're simplifying all this. We're putting embedding and re-ranking models right into the vector index itself. Reason why we're doing this is because powering high quality retrieval is really hard. Like I've said a couple times, there's a lot of moving parts. And any one of these things could go wrong. So we want to simplify it as much as possible. We want to make it as simple as possible for you to get into production quickly. So there's lots of vendors that you can use. We're going to blow past this one real quick. Actually, this one too. Okay, this is the important part. We're creating a composable platform for knowledgeable AI. And what that means is the embedding model, the retrieving model, and the re-rank is all in the same place as your storage. You have a single API that does everything for you. You don't have to worry about connecting multiple systems together. It's just a single API key and a single API call. Again, making it as simple as we possibly can. Embed, retrieve, re-rank, single API. Okay, so how does this work? So we have standalone endpoints for models hosted on our architecture. This is all running on a serverless platform, so it scales as you do. There's nothing for you to configure, nothing for you to install. You just take your API key and run. We're going to blow past that one as well. Okay. Re-rankers are the unsung heroes of RAG. The reason I say that is that when you do an initial query against a vector store, whether it's Pinecone or one of our fine competitors, and you get that initial context back, those are similar results, but they're not necessarily pertinent. The re-ranker is used to find just the pertinent results in that body of similar answers. So as an example, you have a chatbot. Let's say you have let's say it's a help desk chatbot, right? Support ticketing system. Your customers go to your website, they're asking for help. How do I create a widget? Well, the initial responses are going to come back from the vector store is going to be anything related to creation, anything related to widgets, not necessarily creating widgets specifically, right? It's going to be similar to the semantic intent of the sentence, which may not be completely pertinent. When taking those results and running them through the re-ranker, that's when it can winnow down to just the most pertinent results. All right, we're going to take a step back and talk a little bit about LLMs and how they work. So some of the LLMs that are out there now have massive context windows, hundreds of thousands of tokens. But just because they have a large context window doesn't mean they actually understand what's in the middle. Statistically, they're really only going to look at the first section and the last section. This is why re-ranking is so important. It makes sure that the information that gets sent to the very top of the context window is the most pertinent, most relevant. It increases the accuracy of the LLMs significantly, as you can see on our chart here. And providing a single endpoint to do all of this, well, I'm repeating myself. It's a simplified integration to do all of it in one go. Pinecone is completely serverless. I mentioned that before. Everything you do with Pinecone just scales natively. excuse me, it'll scale automatically, handling the inference as well as the embedding and the vector results. And all of this is accessible within Pinecone's integrated knowledge platform. All right. Who knew that we host models? I see like no hands. That's actually kind of cool. This is really new. We just started hosting models very recently, and we came out with some additional ones, including Pinecone Sparse English v0. As its name suggests, this is the very first version of it. But it scores significantly better on NDCG than BM25. This allows you to again, leverage a single service to run your sparse embeddings as well as your dense embeddings, which we'll get to in a minute. We also have our own re-ranker. Again, V0, this is the first version of it. It's built to meet the demands of modern, large-scale applications. And again, this runs all in Pinecone's serverless infrastructure, so it will scale as you do. All right, that's a wall of text. The important part is that in addition to our own models, we are also hosting Microsoft's multilingual E5 Large. We also have BG re-ranker V2M3 as an additional re-rank model. And these are available to any Pinecone user. And again, single API key, you can run your inference and your re-rank all in the same service. We also have a close partnership with Cohere, and we host their re-rank model as well. Excuse me. Okay, this is an interesting one. Cascading search. This is a brand new service. It literally came out last week. The way this works is, it's a form of hybrid search. The reason I say it's a form of hybrid search is because it actually takes dense vectors and sparse vectors from separate indexes, re-ranks them for you into a single result. Rather than trying to store dense vectors and sparse vectors in the same index, which is difficult and prone to error, we decided to split them into their own indexes, but run them through a unified re-ranker to get the most relevant results back. This allows us to have 24% better performance than dense and sparse retrieval alone. It's a much more effective way, a much more efficient way of hosting dense and sparse vectors together, rather than trying to treat them as two versions of the same thing, which they very much are not. Does everybody know what a sparse vector is? I see a few hands. Okay. Does everybody know what a dense vector is? A few more hands. Okay. So just to kind of lay the scene here, a dense vector is a collection of floating point numbers. It's a numeric representation of data. The reason it's dense is that every single dimension of that vector has a number. Anywhere from, typically, it's from -1 to +1, and everything in between. Sparse vectors only have values for very specific tokens in the context. So you might have 4 billion dimensions on a sparse vector, but have 3 or 5 or 100 actual entries. And those entries will correspond to specific words or tokens that are part of the sparse model's training. Is that clear? Cool. So yeah, so this is a purpose-built platform specifically for AI retrieval. We do the embedding, the retrieving, the re-ranking of the sparse and dense vectors, a single service. All right, this is the last thing we're gonna be talking about tonight. And this is, again, this is brand new, it just came out last week. It's something people have been asking for a long time, and it's Pinecone Local. So, production-grade AI apps in general need a lot of thorough testing, right? You have to set it up in your CI/CD pipeline, and you have to integrate all of your services in one place. Scaling up and down those resources can be computationally expensive and time-consuming. Even if you're using a serverless service like Pinecone, it still takes time for an index to be populated and come online and then to be taken offline. We want to simplify that as much as we can. It also, the Pinecone Local also allows you to have more control over your infrastructure. You no longer have to connect to Pinecone to do your initial testing. You can just run it locally in a Docker image and be off and running. So our initial milestones are to have control for the data plane as well as the control plane. Those are available now. In the future, we'll support more complex database features. For example, right now, it doesn't support Pinecone Assistant. It doesn't support sparse vectors. Those will come later. For now, it does support dense vectors up to 100,000 vectors in a single instance. Important caveat, it is not persistent. It's not designed for production. It's designed for development. So once you take the Docker image down, those vectors are gone. So make sure you have a copy of them somewhere. This is the Docker pool. If you want to take a picture of that and save it for later, this is how you get started with Pinecone Local tonight. I see cameras out, so I'll wait a second, let people take shots. All right, cool. All right. That is all I have for you guys tonight. Do you have any questions at all?
Testing. All right.
So currently we are using Midwest.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I'll try to be louder.
That's okay, he's bringing the
Oh,
microphone.
thank you. Thank you so much, Cory. Yeah, so currently Currently we're using Midwest, right? It's open source and we have hosted on GCP and we have been looking at other tools, right? Like Pinecone and basically scale our pipeline, and we saw that there are some, basically you have to hire an engineer who has to constantly debug new things that Midwest keeps coming out with, right? So I want to understand, like, what is, like, I know Midwest was the first one to came out with hybrid search, or at least we could kind of implement it there easily. So the newer things that are coming out down the lane, I want some light on that. Like, I know you mentioned a few things are coming out, but what are the further things that you're planning to bring into Pinecone?
Okay, so for those who didn't hear the question, it's a roadmap question, right? You want to know what else we have coming?
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you. And it's not because it's a big secret. It's just because I spent a week on my feet in Vegas for reInvent last week. My mind is still a little soft, so I honestly couldn't answer you. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Got one down here? Oh, back there. Okay.
Sort of a broad question. What are some
Sure.
open problems in this space that aren't getting solved right now? Have you passed by anything you would work on if you had unlimited time?
What are some problems in the space that aren't being worked on? LLM reasoning. Everybody's focused on using LLMs to essentially serve as an NLP gateway for customers, for end users, which is great, and that's a great use for them. But they could do so much more than just search and retrieval. Having a way for an LLM to actually reason through a problem and to share insights within itself before giving an answer, I think would be a huge step forward. As one example, if you're talking with ChatGPT and you ask it, give me 8 reasons to, give me 8 bullet points for a presentation, it doesn't know what the 8th bullet point is until it prints it out, right? So, because it's purely just a probabilistic machine. But if it could have a way to think before answering, I think that would be awesome.
I'd like to talk to you more about that later. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, more questions?
This guy down here.
I have a question about long context windows. So,
Sure.
So we use it and it gives us very good results. And we heard this logic that in the middle it loses context. But in the attention mechanism, there doesn't seem to be anything that gives more weight to any position than the other. But how is this, like, I'm not, are there any theoretical, any underpinnings as to why the middle context is lost?
So it kind of depends on the model and how the model is trained. But as a general rule, it's going to process the part of the context that came first. By the time it gets to the middle of it, it's already started giving its answer. Does that make sense? It doesn't necessarily read through the entire context before outputting an answer. It'll start reading it and then start giving an answer. So it's related to the problem that we were just talking about with reasoning. It doesn't think before it talks. It just gets an answer and starts spitting it out.
But if from what I understand, the context window does is like it's basically a matrix multiplication, and positional embeddings are added post to it. So it does not know, like there is no special weight to any particular position. So it, like long context windows, unless like after attention the other layers have any other things going on.
Yeah, so statistically, you get more accurate results with smaller context windows rather than larger, even on models that can handle large ones. Because again, just because it can store 100,000 tokens doesn't mean it's going to process all 100,000 before it starts giving an answer.
Sure.
And one last one back there.
Thank you. I have a question about your solution. So that the API, the serverless thing that you're serving, does it include the LLM accelerating in terms of the software side too, or is it about the model that you serve is accelerated?
I'm sorry, I missed the middle part of that myself.
So does it include serverless LLM accelerating infrastructures also, such as like batching or kind of technology things? Or I was just interested in like your Pinecone model is like maybe LoRa or in somehow that kind of accelerations.
Right, we do support bulk upsert directly to the vector index, but we don't support batching to the models themselves yet. That is a future feature.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for your attention. I'll be around if you have any questions later.
Cool. Thank you.
And we bring Eugen back.
Thank you very much, Cory. Thank you for running mics, Cody. All right, next up we have our speaker from Comet. Ah, Claire, there you are. Come on up.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? Good. I heard a woo. Just give me 1 second while I get my laptop connected. Y'all know the game here. Okay, awesome. Amazing to see this pretty large crew out here. My name is Claire Longo. I work for Comet. We are a tool for experiment management, LM evaluations, and tracing. We plug into machine learning and AI projects. What I'm going to talk about a little bit here is my own personal project. The way I like to learn technologies is I have to get hands-on with it. And what better way to do that than to think of your own personal project, something that interests you, and just start building. So what I did here is I had to learn my company's new tool. We released this amazing open source tool called OPIC. I had to learn it, and I really wanted to understand what my customers are going through, what y'all are going through as you build out RAG systems, so I went ahead and built my own. It's an AI clone of myself. I was trying to automate maybe some stuff I don't want to do, like send emails, so I'll show you how that went. Okay, so what I'm going to talk through today in general is I'm going to give you kind of the step-by-step for building an LLM app with open source tools. There's a couple open source tools that I used. OPIC is one of them. There's a few other ones that I used to piece this together. And then I'm also going to talk about testing and monitoring an LLM app. Once you build that LLM and it's moving into production or it's live in a notebook and you've got people interacting with it, you've got to really think about how you're actually monitoring that. How do you know what's going in, what's going out of that system? How do you debug any issues? So there were some kind of LLM ops best practices that I learned through putting this project together, and I'm going to share that with you. The way I'm going to actually present all this is I'll just show you my personal project, what I built, why I built it, what it does. I'll give you a live demo and show you the open source OPIC tool. And then we're going to do a bit of deep dive into the technical components. This is a RAG system, so there's a prompt, there's a model, there's an orchestration layer, and there's also, probably most importantly, the testing and monitoring component. Before I dive in, I want to get a show of hands. Who here knows what a RAG system is? Oh yeah, very technical crew. Who here has built one? Amazing. I'm gonna go pretty fast through the kind of basics of the RAG, because I think you all know what this is. First thing that you need when you're building a RAG is a large language model. So what is a large language model? It is an NLP model. It is trained on billions of words or more. It is using encoder and decoder architecture through the transformer. I'm not gonna go into technical detail on that, but it's really this kind of powerful infrastructure of this deep learning model that encodes the patterns in human language and allows these models to be really good at language-based tasks. So we've got access to these things, very powerful. The one I used is through OpenAI, but there's a lot of open source kind of APIs so that you can build your own stuff on top of this. Google's Bard, Meta's Llama. This is everything the Silicon Valley is talking about right now. So what can you build with LLMs? So I'm in a pretty cool position at Comet where I get to work with a lot of our customers. And the thing I love about this role is I get to see what they're building. And over, I'm seeing these kinds of projects. Large enterprises, one practitioner, small companies, they're all kind of building the same stuff on top of LLMs. And here's what they're building. They're building summarization tools, translation, question answering, that kind of customer support bot, even creative writing like poetry. But these are all language tasks. So these LLMs are really, really great at language tasks. They're not going to be your computer vision model. I don't think they're so great at mathematics, but there's a debate out on that. But it's really those kind of language-based tasks is what people are building here. To build something like this, it's not just a single call to an open source model like OpenAI. It's typically quite a few puzzle pieces. So there's actually going to be multiple steps here. There might be some kind of routing logic. There might be some like prompt engineering that you need to do to really make sure that your app is focused on a very specific task. So what you have to do is you have to pick some different puzzle pieces. You might need a vector database, things like that. You got to figure out what these puzzle pieces are and put it together to build your kind of custom specific application here. And that's where these kind of open source tools come in that I'm going to talk about. I use LangChain. There's a lot of other options here. And then definitely Comet OPIC for the testing and monitoring and logging of the traces, the inputs and outputs. And then OpenAI was the base model that I used. Okay, so what did I build? Meet ClairBot. It is a conversational RAG bot that is augmented by my own social media data. The reason I did this is I was using ChatGPT to draft my emails, and it did not sound like me. It sounded like ChatGPT. And I did not want to send those emails out. So what I wanted to really test this technology and see if it could do it, I wanted to see if it could sound like me. Could it think like me? Could it reason like me? Could it write an email the way I would write an email with the same misspellings and maybe grammatical errors and that kind of thing? So I used a RAG for this. My diagram is not nearly as good as Cory from Pinecone, but I think y'all can follow this and you've seen the RAGs before. Essentially what it is a query comes in. I'm going to retrieve some context data. I just chunked up data from different sources like Word docs and some downloads of like my emails and stuff. And then relevant data is going to be retrieved. That's injected into the prompt. That goes into the LM, which is OpenAI, and then you get a response. So what does ClairBot do? I wanted to give her a very specific task so that I could evaluate it, because my real goal with this project was to really study LLM evals and figure out how we can evaluate these systems, make sure that they're executing the tasks that they're instructed to, and build some kind of like custom eval metrics to keep track of these things. So I've seen my customers giving RAG systems very specific tasks, like maybe they're doing like trip planning, customer service, specific retrieval around like software documentation. I decided to do something fun. I made it into a personal stylist. So that's something I really love, is kind of like a side interest and a hobby. I love fashion, I always have. And so I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if you could upload an image of your outfit and work with the LLM to really kind of get recommendations of how to improve it? So it operates as your personal stylist. You send it a picture of your outfit. You tell it what you want it to do. So in this example, I'm saying, I'm going to a Christmas party. I need to make this more of like a Christmassy outfit. And what it should do, if the app is working the way that it's programmed to, is it is going to give you actionable style advice. So it's going to be helpful, it's going to be kind, and the advice that it gives you is actionable. So the real reason I did this is I wanted to measure actionable. What does that even mean? How do we put a metric around that? Because that's something that I see a lot of people who are building RAG bots kind of struggle with. So let's take a deeper look at this system and where it needs to be evaluated. So you've got the image coming in, and the image needs to be analyzed. Now, the LLMs are not really processing the image data. They need to process text data. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of get this to work, but the way that I approached it is I used an open source image to text model that would translate the image into a text summary, and I'm using the text summary in the rest of the system here. So the first step is to transform that image to a text summary that describes the image in an eloquent way that's going to be meaningful in the model. And I downloaded an open source model from Hugging Face, so that is our first open source tool here. So then an image summary is returned. That's going to go into a prompt. Another thing that's going on that also gets injected into the prompt is the conversation with the chatbot. So you might be chatting with ClaireBot, and she's learning about your personal style, where you're going, what you need to do with the outfit, things like that. And so all that kind of personalized information is also being collected, and that's going to be injected into the prompt, so you get a very personalized, actionable output out here. Last thing is the advice, and you'll see I put these little stars across this diagram. This is where this system needs to be evaluated. So overall, I don't want to just test like, hey, is this accurate? I need to test at each step if it's doing exactly what it was instructed to do. So the first thing that I want to keep an eye on is the image. Is it an outfit? Is someone sending pictures of their food or whatever? Because the app is not going to be able to know what to do with that. So we've got to keep an eye on that kind of output. We need a metric to monitor there. Next is a conversation topic. Is it meaningful? Is it relevant? That's something we need to measure. And then last, you want actionable advice and moderation. So moderation, this is really common kind of metric in LLM systems. You want to make sure they're not going off the rails, fairness, bias, those kinds of things, sensitive topics. So there's kind of a general metric that I'll show you guys in the live demo that we're using for the moderation. Okay, so I'm going to jump into some real code. I've done a few demos, so I know to run my code ahead of time just in case something goes wrong. But I'll walk you through what I built here. So the first thing to look at is the packages that I'm using. Completely open source. Zoom in? Yeah, I got you. 1 second. A little bit better? Okay, good. Yeah, thanks for calling that out. So first thing to notice is the packages that I'm using. Completely open source. I'm using LangChain for orchestration. I've got OPIC for the tracing and evaluations. And then I'm using OpenAI through LangChain here. Oh, and we've got the blip model as well, which is the image processing. So first thing I gotta do is make a prompt. Y'all have seen this before. I'm just telling this thing what its task is, what the expected output is. The interesting thing about this, though, is that as I'm building this, I need to iterate on the prompt. I need to try different sets of instructions and measure how better the system is. And that's where OPIC really comes in, is giving you a way to experiment, to track what you've done so you're not kind of getting lost. To also be able to, in a more scientific way, keep an eye on what you've tried, what worked, what didn't, so that you can reproduce it. And also a framework for even generating those metrics in the first place. Let's see, what's most interesting here? Okay, so this is the actual code of kind of the meat of this application here. The thing I want to point out is the OPIC integrations. So OPIC is an open source Python library, and it's really, really easy to integrate. As a developer, I don't like to get stuck integrating new tools. I want it to just be a few lines of code. I want it to be really intuitive. So what I love about this is I'm just importing OPIC, I'm instantiating it, and then I'm creating something called a tracer. And this is what's going to scoop up the inputs and outputs of every step that I showed in that diagram, or we're going to see that in the UI so that we can actually visualize those inputs and outputs and debug them. And the way that we are doing that is you'll see this little kind of, where's a good example? Go into moderation. So this is our moderation eval. So I talked about how we need to keep an eye on this thing so it doesn't go off the rails, measure it for like fairness and bias. So the way I'm doing that is with a moderation eval, and that's through OPIC. And this is the code where I'm defining that. I'm going to jump in and show you the inputs and outputs in OPIC, and then we'll jump into the metrics. So now I'm in my OPIC UI. This, when you run your application, this data is going to be automatically scooped up because of that Python integration that I showed you, and it'll just show up automatically here. What you're looking at is the inputs and outputs of traces. So I can click into one of these, and you see those same steps from the diagram I was showing earlier. So one trace is going to contain multiple spans. There's that call to the blip model to process the image. There's that back and forth conversation where I'm collecting personal preferences. And then finally, there's that call to OpenAI. And what's cool is I can see the inputs and outputs on all of these here. So if the bot starts saying stuff that's weird, or if it starts breaking, I'm going to be able to pinpoint exactly what those inputs and outputs are. And the way that's helpful to me in the development phase is it indicates maybe how I should change my prompt. And it did. I started seeing like, oh, it's not really out analyzing the image, like it's looking at the background. I could put that in the prompt. I could force it to look at the main subject of the image described in the summary. So I was doing those kinds of like iterations as I experimented with the right prompt here. Now the other thing to notice is feedback scores. So this is one of the most powerful things in OPIC. I like to think of OPIC as a framework both for logging the traces like I showed you, but also for generating these evaluation metrics. Show of hands here, who has worked with LLM as a judge? Is that a familiar concept? All right, this one was absolutely wild to me. So when you think about measuring the performance of like a machine learning model, we've got great metrics available to us. We got our accuracy, ROC score, AUC, F1, whatever it is. It's very mathematical, it's very tangible. I liked that. This is a little different. This is more uncertainty is introduced. So when you think about evaluating an LLM system like this, how do you measure things like moderation? You probably want to label it, such as you would like in a classification framework, as like bias, not bias, toxic, not toxic. So kind of putting it in that classification framework. Well, the question is, how do you do that? And the way you do that is, I'm not connected to the internet, but I have an example up here. So this is my topic eval. The way you do that is with a prompt. So you are essentially, the LLM as a judge is you are asking another LLM to evaluate your LLM's output. So you're really just kind of creating this really interesting situation where you've used the LLM for a specific purpose, and you need to now evaluate it for something else. So now you're calling another LLM with a specific purpose of evaluating. So it's really just a prompt, and in this prompt, I'm almost casting it to a classification. So in this prompt, I'm telling it, you're the judge of staying on topic. Your job is to make sure this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then at the bottom, I'm instructing it to return JSON format with the label, which is going to be a 0 or 1, topic or off topic, and then reasoning. And the reasoning here is very powerful because now you've got some insights you can look at. If it is labeled as like off topic or toxic or something like that, I lost my name tag, then you're able to really get some insight into why, and that helps you improve the system overall. The thing I wanted to show here, let's see if it loads. Yeah, we're not lucky. So we have a bunch of out-of-the-box, pre-built LLM as a judge metrics for things that LLMs do all the time. The fairness and bias one, the hallucination, People are using LLMs to write SQL. So we've got a LM eval for is SQL or not, things like that. Super useful. But what I've learned is that as customers are using this, they all have like really unique use cases and they need to customize it. So we're also offering that framework that I was showing where I wrote my own prompt. And you can really just kind of leverage this ability of casting this into a metric to monitor your system for anything that you're really concerned about. So that's what this is right here. You see I have the moderation eval. Its score is 0. That's good. That means it's doing what it's supposed to do. And when I highlight it, I know it's kind of small, but what you're seeing here is that reasoning. So in the LLM as a judge eval, I asked it to tell me why did you score it this way, and that's actually going to be displayed in Comet as well, or OPIC. Cool. So that was live demo. Let me jump back here to generally this. So here's kind of the LLM ops lessons that I learned from doing this. There's really 3 phases that I went through in this project, and we've got to think about challenges in all 3 of these phases. The first one is development. That's where I was iterating on stuff. I was trying different prompts, maybe trying out different models, tweaking the parameters on that. In that phase, I need to be very scientific-minded about what I'm doing so I can reproduce anything that I really liked, and so that I'm confident in my results. If I just run a few things with a different prompt, take a glance at the output with a few samples of data that I like, and like, yeah, it looks great, that's kind of a vibe check, and it probably won't scale in production. I really need more of a scientific way to do this, and so by leveraging Comet, you're able to kind of run these eval metrics at scale across different data sets and do those side-by-side comparisons and version your prompts and everything while you're doing that. The next one is unit testing. So if I was to really like deploy this thing into production, this would kind of be the next thing I need to think about. As you're iterating over this, you need to kind of verify your LM application performs as it's expected across these kind of moving parts. So we do have like some CI/CD integrations that are going to help with some more kind of standardized testing here outside of the notebook. Last is production. The kinds of metrics that I was looking at as I was iterating and developing in the kind of early research phase, now I probably want to monitor those as people are actually using the app and the data is coming in at a larger volume. I need to track the trends of things like moderation, off-topic evals, hallucinations, and I might even want to get alerted to things once they start to go wrong. Generally, this is what Comet OPIC helps with. If you are fine-tuning, I didn't talk about that because I didn't have to do it for this project and it's very expensive. But if you are fine-tuning, we're also very helpful there, and that's still kind of like framework of experiment management. If you're fine-tuning a model, it's very similar to just training a model, and you need to track what you did there. We help with the prompt engineering, versioning things, logging the inputs and outputs to see which prompt templates are better. Then there's data versioning. So as I mentioned, you want to run these kind of scientific experiments. You need like a golden data set, a baseline data set to really run things on as you're iterating. Evaluations, this is the hard part, kind of the creative part. But these are those LLM as a judge evaluations that I talked about. We also have some heuristic metrics built in, and that ability to totally customize your evaluation metrics. And then last of all is monitoring. Once you've got all these pieces in play and you've got a system in production, you gotta make sure it's not going off the rails, and this is a great framework to do that with. And OPIC is open source. We love stars, so you can scan this, and if you want to check out our repo, it's all there. But that is all I had. If you want to get started with OPIC, it's really just a few lines of Python code. If you're in a Jupyter notebook, if you're familiar with Python, you're gonna have no trouble getting going with this. But yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Hi, you showed us a schematic in 2 places of your architecture, right? Is there a way to, in a high fidelity sense, suppose you define that implicitly in your code in OPIC or even LangChain, get a view of that as, suppose you switch out an LLM in one place. The schematic gets auto-regenerated, and then you can see like what exactly is going on. Like, my question is that a post facto diagram that you generated, or is that a first class object within OPEC?
Yeah, which diagram were you talking about there?
Back.
Are you talking about
Yeah,
this?
these types, yeah.
Yeah. So I generated this after building the bot, and I did kind of iterate on what this architecture should even be. Because there's a lot of design decisions, like how are you going to integrate the image analysis? I think there's like a multimodal modeling approach that you could have taken here. I took an image summary approach. So this is kind of capturing what I did. The important thing here, though, the thing to point out is once I had this, it's these stars that I think were really key. It's like figuring out like, okay, I know what the system does. Where can it go wrong? And placing those stars on like, okay, these are the breaking points, and then coming up with an evaluation metric for each one. Yeah, but OPEC's not going to help you with this. They are going to help you with the evaluation at each point. Yeah.
I just add a comment. It would be really useful to look at this schematic in your, so you had a place where you showed the logging, right? It would be useful to see that in the context of this schematic. So
I see.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's good product feedback. I like it. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
So there's a couple, besides like OPIC, there's a couple other like open source tracing tools, but it's really hard to tell the differences based on their homepage.
Yeah.
Could you give us like a quick like summary of some of the differences between all of them? So
Yeah.
I end up using like whatever's in like the starter like examples.
Okay, yeah, good question. That is also how I build. I like to copy paste a lot of code, and that's how I ended with Hugging Face. Like they have amazing online tutorials, and that's what OPIC is trying to do as well. So it's kind of led to my design choices, like what can I get access to in terms of the Hugging Face choice. In terms of the tooling, there's a lot of tools. I would say try them out, evaluate them, come into it with like a real tangible project and like questions that you need answered, and just choose what's best for you. I've worked for more than one of these companies. They're all fantastic, but I think you kind of gotta see what's best for your project.
Hi, I wonder if there is any chance that we can visualize if our model works well or not. You know, somehow seeing if, for example, each part working well, each one, it's converged or not, something like that.
Yeah, it's a good question. That's something I would love to spend a lot of time researching. I think it's an open question. Let me know if you solve it. There's a couple things you can do, like with the evaluation metric in production, you can plot it over time. So if you see it kind of going off the rails, that's helpful. In the development phase, I was using experiments and then side-by-side comparisons. So it wasn't really like a convergence, because there's really no model training going on here. It was more like I used prompt 1, I used prompt 2, I ran it on the same data set with examples that were curated to represent everything I want this thing to be good at, so like a good like representative of production data set. And I did a side-by-side comparison with the metrics, so I could see like hallucination is high with this prompt, low with that, things like that.
So you surveyed somehow, yeah?
Yeah, because it's not converging the way if you were like machine learning, like model training or fine-tuning. Yeah, good question.
Are there any problems that you were hoping OPIC would solve for you that it didn't end up solving? And if so, how are you addressing them?
With the good questions back there. Any problems that we should be solving with OPIC that we haven't? Is that the question?
That you wished OPIC would solve for you, like you picked up the tool expecting it would help you with a certain problem and then it didn't cover that problem?
Yeah, really good question. OPIC is still new, it's developing a lot. So I would say use it hands-on and give us product feedback, because as this field grows, it's gonna grow. And it's open source, you can like get in there and contribute. One thing that I think we haven't solved it as an industry, and OPIC definitely is not addressing yet, is how do you mathematically evaluate these things? I showed you LLM as a judge. It is an LLM judging an LLM. That's super wild. It's what we're using, and I love it, and it's customizable, but it's wild. I would love a mathematical way to like capture the confidence intervals around this and this probabilistic output of these models. That's something like, I know perplexity is a really good metric, and we have a good blog post on that one, But that's something that like I want to maybe spend a little more time on and figure out how to facilitate. I don't know the answer, but it's interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah, good question.
All right, we have time for one more. You choose.
Thank you for choosing me. So my question is, why do you think LLM and large language models are so bad at doing math, even the simple ones, but they are very good at, they're very amazing at doing other things. Even like coding, if I put it in the code, do an integral for me. It's able to write that code for me, but doing a very simple integral, it's not able to do that. What's the reason for it? And the second question is, how can they be improved?
That is my favorite question, because that's something that I care about a lot and have thought about a lot. So code is language. So of course they're good at code. Code is just the language. That's how I think of it. They're not necessarily bad at math because they're good at pattern recognition and pattern, what's the word? Like reproducing a pattern. But the problem is that it's not a strict mathematical framework, and so it becomes a little bit challenging to measure that and to keep it on the rails. Sequence models are actually very good with numbers. Like we use LSTMs, which are like language models. We use like XGBoost, like the tree-based models. Those actually do really well on language tasks. And actually, LMs don't do that poorly because they're a language model. And so if you're trying to do like a time series prediction, that's not that much different from a sentence. The interesting thing is, though, is that if, let's say you have a time series forecasting model already deployed and it's like really good at like forecasting inventory for some like restaurant or whatever it is, it's a mathematical problem. You've got a mathematical like tabular machine learning model already good at that. Ripping that out, replacing it with a language model, even though it might perform on par, you've just introduced a whole new infrastructure and a lot of different challenges. I did this. I took a time series data set and I tried to forecast it with LSTMs, XGBoost, and LLMs. And the LLMs did okay, but they did this weird thing. Instead of sometimes giving me a single number as the like weekly forecast, sometimes it would say 15 units, and it was a string, not a number. Now I've got like a processing problem with the output of that. So I wouldn't say they're bad at it, they're sequence models, but I think there's a lot of research that we should be doing there that could be really interesting, yeah.
How can they improve? Is it train them on, I don't know, math books?
I would. No, there's a paper on that. Yeah, I would dump a bunch of like mathematical papers into it and maybe even like a RAG system that's focused on that. That'd be my first step. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Claire.
Thanks, everyone.
And up next, we have Anish from Komodo.
All right, hi everybody. My name is Anish. I am the CEO and founder of Comodo AI. So we started at Komodo at the beginning of this year, building an end-to-end developer platforms for AI engineers. So we supported everything from spinning up Jupyter-backed notebooks to your development, to kicking off training jobs, to fine-tune LLMs, and finally to deploying your models behind production-ready endpoints that automatically scale with traffic. So we launched a product, we had our initial set of users, we had revenue, but we really struggled to kind of get it to take off. And there are a lot of different reasons, I think, why this happened. I think we were entering a extremely crowded and competitive space. A lot of the things that we built that we consider to be our differentiators, our competition built like literally over the summer. And so I was exploring different ways of, how can I fix this problem? I even explored focusing just on model inferencing, because honestly, I think one of the things I've learned is that I think like we started off too broad. We were trying to do too many things at once. And so I started exploring this idea of like a very focused tailoring inferencing platform and doing model inferencing better than any of the competition. But I even actually went to events like this and kind of pitched this idea before I started building it, trying to see how much traction I can get, how much interest I can get. But again, I couldn't really get enough traction and conviction to really do this. And honestly, startups are hard. And one thing I learned is that dev tool startups are especially hard. And this is for a couple of reasons. So for example, with dev tools, your buyer is not your user, right? The buyer of dev tool products are typically like engineering managers, whereas your users, the engineers themselves, and there's like a really big disconnect. And this was a problem that I experienced a lot. And when I tried to do outbound sales, I encountered this a lot where the buyer of this product wasn't like super excited about it compared to the engineers. And I started chatting with a lot of dev tool founders. And one thing I noticed is that all of the successful founders I chatted with, they all were able to get their product to take off with a more bottom-up approach. So, they got a lot of virality on platforms like Twitter and Reddit, and they were posting content a lot, building up their own personal brand. Even, doing events like this and, doing hackathons and things like that. All from a very bottom-up approach and honestly getting users through word of mouth. And so so I also experienced this problem a lot with trying to do Komodo, where when I was trying to explore this kind of like bottom-up approach, it was taking up a lot of my time. And so I was trying to find leads on platforms like Reddit and Twitter. I was trying to keep up with posting regular content, trying to improve SEO, improve my landing page. This is like a lot of advice that I got from the founders I was chatting with that were successful in their platforms. But I realized that I had spent so much time trying to do this for Komodo, and I started chatting with a lot more founders, and they all told me that they spent so much time doing this exact same thing. And so now I am doing the classic startup thing, and I'm pivoting. And so my new mission now is we want to build your AI go-to-market team. And so I am trying to leverage AI agents to help you with lead gen and marketing on social media, help you improve your SEO, help you figure out like when and where are the best places to write content, to improve brand awareness and to improve your own personal brand. Figure out, when's the right time to start running ads and how do I improve SEO, all things like that. And so the way I'm starting this is very focused and very narrow. I'm starting specifically with lead generation on Reddit. I think it's a really underrated platform for a lot of companies, especially dev tool startups. And the customers that I'm actually working with right now, most of them have gotten their initial customers on Reddit. And so here's a quick demo. So when you sign up for the platform, you'll be prompted to enter a little bit of information about your business. So the name of your business, a quick description, and who your ICP is. After that, you can optionally tell us about your competitors as well. And then you can add the relevant subreddits that you want to monitor with the platform. And then finally, you can create different personas that you will be responding to these leads from. So in my case, I've created two personas, one as me, the founder, and one as the user of my product. And so if I go to my dashboard now, I see that the platform has now scanned all those subreddits and found leads relevant to my business. And so they're even sorted into categories as well. For example, if I look at just qualified leads, these are all people that are actively experiencing the problem that my platform solves. You can also join in on discussions that are relevant to your space. Again, all about posting content and creating awareness about your product. And also keep in touch with the competition, see what they're doing, see what users of your competition's products are doing. And again, try to maybe just join those discussions. I'm also gonna be adding custom categories where you can define your own categories that are relevant to your business. And then right from the dashboard, you can go and pick one of your personas to respond from and just say, like, try my platform. And you can either reply directly to the post, you can DM the person who posted it, or if you have your own community on Discord, you can cross-post it directly to your community. And then if you want to check back on your responses later, you can always go back here, see what you posted, and even open up the response right on Reddit. And so the larger vision with this platform is not just lead gen on Reddit, but it's basically to encompass all things around bottom-up marketing and sales. And so I want to support multiple platforms like I mentioned, Twitter and LinkedIn, and even let you connect Slack and Discord communities that are relevant to your space. And then I also, the next big core feature that we're working on right now is helping founders post content in the relevant places. And so helping you build your own personal brand. We will find highly ranked posts for you to contribute to. We'll find the right times and the right channels for you to post content, and even help you brainstorm ideas by keeping track of the latest trends in your industry. And we also want to get into improving your SEO, figuring out when is the right time to post ads, helping you optimize your landing page to optimize for conversion. Like I said, basically all things kind of bottom-up marketing. And so right now, this is still pretty new. I'm literally just working with a small group of people in a private beta right now, but hope to be opening it up pretty soon. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, please go sign up on the waitlist. I'm excited to be bringing on more people soon. And also, stay in touch. Follow me on Twitter if you want to see some of my hot takes. And also connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Hi there. Probably two questions. One is, have you looked into the conversion rate of these posts compared to an actual person's post? And the second question is, there is currently a lot of spam on LinkedIn with AI-generated posts and comments by companies and people. And I think LinkedIn publicly said that they're actively looking to solve the problem. Are you concerned about Reddit, for example, looking into this?
Yeah, so definitely very much concerned about AI spam. That's why at least right now I'm not trying to just have it be completely automated where your AI will just go respond to all these posts. I thought about it because I think I have had people say that would be a cool feature if it does it really well, but I also don't want to be contributing to AI spam. So kind of thinking about it more as having AI help you figure out what to write rather than just it going off automatically and doing it. And to kind of answer your previous question about conversion, it really depends on the type of post that you're responding to or the type of post that you're creating. So what I've seen with my early customers that I'm working with is that when they have specifically responded to a qualified lead that's posted about actively having this problem, that is when it converts pretty quickly. And versus posting content on LinkedIn or Reddit, that is more a long-term game. You have to do it. The classic thing about marketing is you just have to be super repetitive about it. You have to always be posting content. It's a long-term game about basically building brand awareness and building your own brand as well.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. So what's your pricing model?
Yeah, so I should have put this back. I think I didn't keep it up that long. Pricing model, so it'll be a subscription model. Still figuring out the exact pricing, but I'm thinking there's probably going to be a few tiers. So a starter tier for $40 a month, and then a larger tier for about $100 a month, where the differences between these tiers is the number of different platforms that you can monitor at a given time. So for now, it would be the number of subreddits, but eventually how many LinkedIn or Slack communities, for example, you'd be able to monitor at one time. And perhaps the number of personas you can create and things like that.
Can you talk a bit more about your ideas around SEO and the landing page optimization?
Yeah. So with SEO kind of ties in a lot with content. So like I mentioned, just kind of finding the right channels to talk about yourself, talk about your space, and also sometimes talk about your product specifically. Help drive traffic to your own personal profiles and also to your company's website as well. Obviously, there are just things around putting the right keywords in your website's metadata and whatever to help with SEO, and we'll probably do something around that as well. But mostly what I'm focusing right now is the content side of SEO. Because that's something that just is really tough to keep up with. And so you can almost think of this platform that I'm trying to build as a way to coach founders on how to approach content-based marketing. What was your second question? Sorry.
That kind of covered it.
Okay, cool.
Hello. All the marketing content is iterative. So, for example, the SEO is iterative. You need to improve all the time and get measure content and change the keywords. So, how do you connect your software with the results to improve the SEO and the content in the social media?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, keeping up with that content is why like this is, I mean, kind of like you mentioned, it's gonna be like an iterative kind of like longer term thing where, you know, our platform will, for example, monitor the trends in your industry, and when there's like a trending topic for a given week, we'll help surface that to you so that you should be writing some content about that. And you know, we'll probably start to also like help you come up with like, you know, your tagline to get the user's interest and things like that. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Hi, I'm wondering how things change, how your service will be applied differently between mostly online services versus brick and mortar stores or retail merchants, restaurants, things like that.
Yeah, right now, pretty much focused exclusively on SaaS products right now. It's already kind of a big enough space that I haven't really been chatting with those types of companies yet. Who knows? I mean, maybe we might expand into that eventually, but you know, one of the learnings I had from Komodo is not to start too broad too early. So everything I'm building right now is tailored for SaaS founders.
One last question. Anyone else? One?
Hi, like just a quick question on like you using like SEO is probably on like search engine, which in like Google. Do you think you're better than Google in terms of like that search engine optimization, and also how well is your AI gonna solve this problem? Because like previously you had this problem, have you been successful in overcoming them? And can you please share on that? Thank you.
Yeah. So with SEO, I mean, yes, starting with you know, Google for sure, because that's the big one, and it even ties into like how we surface leads to you. One of the categories we're going to add is like the high rank category, and so specifically finding things that rank high on Google. But we will expand out from that. Like one of the things that we've actually chatted about was like ranking high on LLMs, like Perplexity. And so we'll probably try to explore ways that we can surface those types of high rank posts as well. And in terms of how well can this AI work, well, funnily enough, before I actually built out any of the platform, I just built like a Python script that would run the AI, and I played around a lot with like the prompts based on like your description of your business and your ICP about categorizing and finding these leads correctly. And almost every single person that I have right now in my private beta came from me manually running this script on certain subreddits that I was scanning. So I have been able to successfully convert a bunch of people with just a Python script running the AI that I'm now fully integrating into the platform. So I think it'll, you know, obviously my goal is to improve it over time. I might even use some of the fine-tuning tech that I built with Komodo to help fine-tune models specifically for this. But as of right now, with just like good prompt engineering, it works pretty well with like ChatGPT. Cool, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Anish. Okay, so we're gonna go into the lightning demos very quickly, but while I was sitting back there and not running the mic today, thank you very much, Cody, I built a little fun little application for you guys. If you want to check out your GitHub Wrapped, so who here has Spotify? Who has done Spotify Wrapped? Okay, I built something that's about 100 times as simple, so it's nowhere near as complex. But if you want to check out your GitHub Wrapped and see the number of forks, number of stars, and the number of commits you wrote recently, check this out. And I will show the highest number of each of those when everyone comes back from a break. Before we go on a break, I want to take a selfie with everyone. So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to take a selfie. Okay, wave at the camera. All right, so let's take like a 5-10 minute break and then go to the bathroom, and we'll come back for the demos, and I'll show who wrote the most commits, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, wait, first let me round up the demo people. All right. Demoers, where are you? TrustGraph, I just saw you. You're right here. CloudAEye, that's you right there. APIRex, June, where are you? There you are. Stably AI. Did they send some? Ah, okay, you're a Xinjiang. Okay. BRXai, Bricks, there you are. HumanLayer, there you are. Okay. Digger, I saw the guy. Oh, there he is, okay. Vikit AI, who here is from Vikit AI? Oh, okay, you're here as well. Okay, AnyCable, Evil Martian, yeah, there you are. OmniAI, oh, there you are, Tyler. The Agentic. No, the Agentic. All right, looks like we have a no-show. QEM Labs. Okay, looks like we have another no-show. Pensar. There you are. I'm glad you're here because you posted a lot about this on socials, so it'd be weird if you missed it. All right. XGaming. Ah, okay, XGaming's right there. Jina, where are you? I saw you earlier. Ah, there you are. Great. Okay. Okay, so before we go into these, so these are going to be 2 minutes, very fast, everyone. 2 minutes is surprisingly fast. Demo, show us the code, show us an app. Okay, so before we do that, let's check out the GitHub Wrapped. Let's see who wrote the most lines of commits. So I'm going to get rid of Hugging Face here because they probably won, but let's see. Who's Reflex Dev? Reflex Dev, where are you? What? Okay, let me get rid of this guy too. You're Reflex Dev? No, you're not Reflex Dev. Who put that in there? You put that in there though. Okay. Digger HQ has the most repos forked. I don't know how to pronounce this. QUENG123, where are you? QUENG123, where are you? All right, that guy right there. All right, that guy has written the most commits here, so this guy is probably your all-star engineer. Okay, everybody give this guy a round of applause. All right, so we're going to go through 2-minute demos. There's a timer right here. I will let you know when your time is up as well by yelling at you from up there. So I can sit center stage and watch. Excuse me, let me get through here. Let me just sit right here. All right. Oh shit, I just stepped on. All right. Sorry.
So I'm Daniel, the co-founder of TrustGraph.ai, which is a fully agentic system that is mostly no code unless you want to customize it. And it's fully containerized, and so many of the things that people have been talking about today, everything, all of that is already fully contained in TrustGraph. So I'm showing you right now the configuration UI. We are not UI UX developers, so please, if you are, help. It is fully containerized, so we can use either Docker, Podman, RIP Podman, Minikube, or GKE on Google Cloud. These are all the LLM platforms we support, which is basically all of them. I'm just going to use Google AI Studio for this, not llama files. We currently support MemGraph, Cassandra, and Neo4j. I'm using MemGraph for this. Qdrant, Milvus, and Pinecone. I'm using Qdrant. Here's all of our chunking parameters, and we're going to use Gemini Flash 1.5. We go in here. This allows you to customize all the prompts within the system. So this is just a system prompt that's used. These are the data extraction agents. This is also our agent router, when you can see that really sweet Jinja. I know people are going to love that, which is where all the tools that are provided to the actual agent. And I've customized those right now. And you're looking at, why is he talking about UFO and UAP? I may have a data set, which I cannot tell you how I have it, but that's what I'm actually going to show you. No, seriously, I can't tell you how I have this data. If we go here, we can actually see, I'm going to go back in time 30 minutes. You can see where I've actually loaded the data. This is actually all the real-time observability using Prometheus and a Grafana dashboard. just so that you believe me. This is the MemGraph lab was showing we're around 18,000 edges. So TrustGraph is also designed for knowledge cores so that you can load data in and out. I'm very quickly going to try to generate this. And I'm asking this question for a very specific reason. And it's actually going to walk through this right now. So it has all the tools that you saw available to it. And you might have to come find me to see how this finishes. I asked this question for a reason, so that there is data in the graph specific to
up.
Well, I'm letting the AI finish.
All right. Wow, that's a lot of outputs.
What it's doing is actually, I specifically chose something that's partially in the data and partially not. So the agent is actually making the decisions right now to go, I need more information, so it keeps querying the information, looking for more. What it's actually going to eventually resolve at is what you see right here.
All right, that's too much talking after the time. Thank you. All right, we got to run these on time, guys. Next up, CloudAEye. You can go find the TrustGraph guy afterwards to see the results.
Hi, I am Nazrul, founder and CEO of CloudAEye. If you want to follow along, here is a quick QR code that you can use, and click on the live demo link on the site. So what we do is we focus on developer productivity. So in this demo, what we are showing you is how you can save half of your day or a full day per week. So we developers spend more than 60% of our time doing non-coding activity like debugging, testing, deploying, production support, all sorts of things. So in this demo, what I am showing is, let's say you push some code and you ran into some test failures in your CI/CD. So instead of kind of dealing with all that debugging and testing problems that you typically go through, we have a service, SaaS service, that would automate all of that for you, and we will provide you the root cause analysis, and we will also give you a code suggestion in terms of how you could potentially fix it. So in our live demo page, let's take a look at it. So there are like a few use cases that we already put together. So if you follow our page, you can actually look at all of this. I invite you to, since I have a little bit of time, I invite you to go look at our page. So let's look at one of these. So I'm going to click on the first one, which is a
Can you zoom in, please?
Sorry?
Zoom in.
Let's see. Can you see? OK, good. So this is a multi-repo dust failure. So what we have done is we have a GitHub app that shows you integrated experience. And so this is your PR. These are all the changes you made. And you have a test failure. And what we are doing here is for the tests that failed, we give you the root cause. We give you actually the code suggestion that would fix your tests. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. He saw me put the mic up to my mouth to tell him to get off the stage. APIRex. All right, June, you've seen this. I don't play favorites here, so just because we're friends doesn't mean you're going to get longer. Show us the code. Show us the code.
Wait. How do I?
There you go. Okay.
Awesome. So hi everyone, I'm Julian from APIRex. So we help companies generate beautiful developer and API documentation in 60 seconds, not weeks. So this is basically our developer portal. As you can see over here, give me a second. It allows you to, you are able to test out the API endpoints. And on top of that, you're also able to convert the different languages and test out the different endpoints as well. You can edit, preview, all in a very nice UI interface.
I appreciate the
You also have guides as well, and all this, we support both Markdown and MDX as what all developers like us love. We also have our own custom MDX syntax as well, so you can use it to build your own custom documentation as well. So all this, as you can see, is all the code for the MDX. So we do support forum. We also have AI chat, where you can just ask any question and get the response you need in just seconds. On top of that, today, we are introducing something different. It's called APIRex Mosaic. It's the first in the developer docs industry that allow developers to search, ideate, build sample apps, and run code. And as you can see in this example, you are just asking it to build me a React app using this API developer documentation. And within seconds, it built you a whole React app. And right now, you can even ask it to style it using Tailwind CSS, and it is able to style it on the spot. And this allows developers now to build new sample apps on any new API on the go. So the last part is we are introducing APIRex agentic workflows that allows companies and developers to build custom workflow and automations on your documentation. So do speak to us if you are interested. We are doing private beta with 5 different companies. So if you can see on the demo video over here. Yeah, if you can see quickly over here, what's happening is that it's building a workflow. So an example workflow is on the right, is where if there's an updated documentation content, you're able to build a workflow to generate content on social media on the spot, and it allows you to post it on social media, all just within your documentation. So I think that's all that we have.
Good.
Yeah, do enjoy this, and let me know if you have any questions.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, visit us at APIRex.com.
All right, Stably AI. All right, if anybody can get this under 2 minutes, you will have my undying appreciation.
All right, we'll just go with this. Hi, everyone. I'm Jing. I'm co-founder of Stably AI. While I was building the test infrastructure in Google, I learned a hard truth. Well, we all know that we need end-to-end tests to catch the bugs before it reaches its user. Every engineering team struggles to maintain them. Why? The reason is simple. End-to-end tests are notoriously fragile. When your UI changes, and when you have dynamic content, they just inevitably go broken. And that's why we built Stably, an AI agent that acts as autonomous QA engineers that can handle the test without any flakiness. I'm going to show you an example on one of our users, Octoname AI. See, you are able to enter the thing you want to test with just plain English, and the AI will act as an expert user of your app because we actually build custom knowledge base for the AI so that it will be able to test your app even when your UI changes. And while natural language is powerful, we know not everyone wants to use them to write their tests, so we also support recording your test. And this gives you a lot of precision, right? You'll be able to just say exactly what you want to test. And once you're done recording, we do turn your test step into AI auto-fix step. That means even when your UI changes, again, like the AI will be able to go in and then just handle that. And running Stably tests is just as flexible as creating them. You can schedule them, you can integrate with your GitHub action, or use our API to call it from any CI/CD. We use Stably internally ourselves to test our tools, so we'd love you to try as well. 2 months free for everyone here in the audience. We're also hiring. That's 2 minutes.
Perfect timing. Thank you for the on-time demo. All right, BRXai. All right, Jake, so last time you did show us something that worked in 2 minutes, and I saw this earlier, so I'm really excited to see how this works.
Yeah, we're going to try our best to get this in 2 minutes. Let me plug this in real quick.
This is about to be really creepy.
It's a little scary and a little creepy how good these AIs are getting at this point, but let me hop right in. So my name is Jake Anderson, the CEO and founder of BRXai. BRXai is an operational engine designed for engineers. We allow you to move from process to operation much faster, all around precision when it comes to the operations that are operating under the hood. The thing you're going to be seeing today is the self-healing cloud functions we have. There's a really interesting way to use these AI operations to build and design websites and web apps that can interplay with each other. And what we're showing off today, and I'm going to keep this perfectly short for this, is one of these self-healing cloud functions running. So the first one that I made for the demo today was walking around, I was taking some pictures, and as I was taking these pictures, I was uploading them to the service that we use, which lets me build an entire web application. Now, this in itself is pretty impressive to me, that we can just have a conversation with an AI and drop some images in and build one of these. But what's really interesting now is if I run one of these, and this is the other one that I had it spin up in the same process too, we can now search the entire internet based on any picture and pull up all the relevant images. We're using face detection under the hood, and we're using code inside of our prompt engineering to actually build and design these operations. So this one's running right now. If I go over, I will grab one of the pre-filled JSON objects. But this is running out right now, pulling all the information, and it's running prompt engineering under the hood to go hit APIs as well as go hit other services that are pulling all those images and those URLs and then compressing them. There's different instances that are being used for scraping and other subservices. But the cool part is this is all now baked into your prompt engineering as an operation under the hood. And while this is all rendering and loading, I think I will pull up one more in a second. I know I have 30 seconds. But as you see, it just went through the internet and scraped a bunch of images. There's some really interesting ones in here too. We were scrolling through. There might even be some pictures from Hawaii. I think was this one right here. Sorry, no.
This is from Hawaii, yes.
But it's a super interesting process. But the real hit home with this is all of this code, if you're looking at the actual deploy time in the corner, this was all built in 3 hours. So taking your operations from maybe months or weeks or days down to hours is really what we do at BRXai. But that's about it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Under 2 minutes. I love it. All right, HumanLayer, you're up. BRXai has just given a very hard to follow demo, so good luck.
Wow, we're going to do our best. What's up, y'all? My name's Dex. I'm the CEO of a company called HumanLayer. I'm going to show you a quick project we built today called Mail Crew. This is totally open source. This is based on a recent obsession of mine, which is agents that run over email. And so the idea is, can you interact with an AI agent completely over email? I'm going to jump straight into it. Since email takes a second, we're going to send you an invoice for $500. And the way this is working under the hood is HumanLayer allows you to create what we call an agent webhook. And so what this is going to do is give you a special pre-made email address that when you send an email to it, it will trigger a webhook. And what's going to happen in the background is this, again, the project is fully open source. There is a quick endpoint here, very small, that passes this off to an agent that runs in CrewAI. And what we've done is we've given it access to the whole Stripe API. So this thing can make payments, send payments, build invoices, all kinds of fun stuff. What we've done is we've used HumanLayer to wrap the create and update functions with a approval step. So it can fetch and read everything that we have, but when it wants to go create something, then it will have to get our permission. And so in our original thread, it's saying, hey, look, we need to do all of this stuff. It's saying create a product. Let's see, they'll say, great. It's really hard to demo with just one hand. Who's the GitHub host? Can we get a mic stand for this thing next time? Just kidding. Cool. This is all part of the fun.
Might actually get one next time, who knows?
It would be great. It has to be extra tall though, you know. If I have to lean over like this, it's not gonna do it for me. So I can respond to this agent and it's actually gonna run this tool call and it's executing through, and so it's created the product. Now it's going to create a price, and so you can see this agent will walk through and call the functions, and I can interact with it entirely over email. I'm probably going to run out of time before that happens, so let's just hop over to not my entire email inbox, please. The architecture here is, oh man.
Should
really
I expect
quickly.
an email? Am I supposed to get an email?
No, it will walk through the steps that eventually respond to me with a payment link that I can then send to you.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't have your email. I didn't give it your email. But
All right,
yeah,
good.
HumanLayer makes the webhook, and then the agent can interact with you over email. That's it. We're HumanLayer. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Digger.
Okay. So, as the name suggests, it's an agent and it helps with DevOps and it does it in pull requests. So let's say I'm an engineer and I don't really understand infrastructure, which was the case until recently. I created a pull request here, pure application code, no infra, just using some S3 bucket. And the agent detects that it's using some new infra and suggests to create it. I approve. And what it does, it actually generates some infra code. So it's committing, pushing to the same PR. Here's some generated Terraform, could be any config, but looks valid. And it starts testing it, planning it. One thing to note is that actually it starts a job in GitHub Actions. And you can see it's like, running valid Terraform, whatnot. And after it's done, I can see the plan in the pull request, like, as if I knew something about infrastructure. And later on, I can chat with the agent, like with any normal agent. I can do commands, like, for example, apply that infrastructure. Again, without any infra knowledge, without even looking into how it works or what it does. And it's going to do just that. It's going to acknowledge my command and start another job to apply the infra. So we actually have some time, I guess.
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much. I'm going to have to start timing all of these and see who does it in record time. Okay, Vikit AI. Vikit AI, there you are.
Okay, so Vikit AI is an AI video generation software development kit. So I'm sure everybody saw like the great video models like Sora, Runway Sora that went out today. But what if you want to generate a particular video for a particular use case like advertising, product video, training video, and recently we worked with museums. So you would have to mix the video models, but also other modality models like music generation, voice generation, LLMs to do the scenario, etc., etc. So we allow to automate that. We have a full-fledged software development kit. We integrated all of the models on our cloud platform, so you don't have to subscribe to every model providers. And the code is quite simple and allows you to build these custom generators and to build like automatically videos that look like this.
Unlock your radiance with AI cosmetics.
So we used Hyper with
cream.
this one, and on the last one, we mixed Hyper, which is a text-to-video model, with Runway, in order to make an advertising video. We animated this image, and we did the first part of the video with some text, and it looks like this. So the first part is with one model provider, with Music Gen of Meta, and second part animates the image with Runway. We'll soon integrate Sora. So thank you for listening to me, and here is all the details about it if you want to test. And feel free to contact me also.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Next up, we have AnyCable from Evil Martians.
Right. Hey, my name is Irina. I'm a CEO and co-founder of AnyCable, which is a WebSocket infrastructure product that you all need to make your AI apps really snappy and fast. But I'm gonna do something. So this is just a Next.js demo app, and normally AnyCable is just kind of allowing you to do multiplayer mode in this app, but we're gonna do something new. We're gonna call our app. Let's do it. Hey, can you create a new task, run demo at the Awesome AI meetup?
For you.
Let's schedule it tomorrow.
Task, run demo at the Awesome AI meetup has been added for tomorrow.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it. Sorry, I got nervous. I wanted to do it today. But so basically we see the logs, right? Let me briefly explain what's going on here. So first of all, AnyCable is fully open source WebSocket server used by big public companies and small companies, so you can all use it. And this is AnyCable Twilio, a special app. It's all built in Go, and it stands, so this is your core app. It can be any application, it can be Next.js, Ruby on Rails, anything. And AnyCable is a Go server that you can spin up and run. And it's gonna talk to Twilio and OpenAI, and it's gonna perform function calling in real time so that your users are gonna just love it, because it's gonna be super snappy. So please take a look.
Good timing. Good timing. All right. OmniAI.
Thank you.
You've got a fan in the crowd or an employee.
Oh. All right, good to go. Hi, everyone. I'm Tyler, the co-founder and CEO at OmniAI. And at Omni, we pull structured data out of documents. There's a lot of people doing it, but we are the best. And so main tactical use right here, vision models for document parsing, and we go, the document into Markdown into structured data extraction. And so if you are new to the world of OCR, this right here, pretty well solved for the last 10 years. This on the right-hand side, not solved at all. And that is really how most humans want to communicate, is with big charts, graphs, tables, things that just don't fit really well into a database. And so we have an open source package called Xerox. Pretty simple. The general concept is we're taking all the documents, we're rasterizing it, doing some image cleanup, putting it into an image format, and then using VLMs to transform everything into Markdown. And it works really well on a lot of complex use cases. So things like charts and graphs where you've got like 3 different lines where we have to understand the color coordination between the different lines and how it maps up to the numbers there. These complex infographics I showed before, handwritten D&D charts. And the cool thing about using vision models for all of this is you can actually continue to train them as long as you can have input-output of your visual data plus the actual Markdown that you're looking for, which means infinite training data if you're really good at generating structured data output. And my main takeaway for the event today is we are almost at 7,000 stars on GitHub, and I would really love if everybody could give us the extra 100 stars that we need to get there.
Awesome.
That's it.
Everybody go give Xerox a star. Did you submit to the GitHub Wrapped?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
Well, no,
All right.
I submitted, but it didn't count this one.
Well, that's because this is not your. I don't know if it's under you. Yeah. All right. I don't think the person from the Agentic is here, right? QEM and the Agentic didn't show up. Those are the 2 no-shows. Right. Okay. Pensar.
Hi, everyone. My name is Josh Kutros. I'm the founding engineer with Pensar. At Pensar, we're working on automated application security, so really trying to take the pain of solving security problems out of the engineers day-to-day. So we're building a web console that allows you to connect your GitHub repos, run static analysis on those repositories, find vulnerabilities, and then automate actually patching those vulnerabilities. So it starts by you go to our console, you'll connect your GitHub organization as a GitHub app. We can run this on an example repo that we have here just for demo. And as we're scanning your repo, we're cloning this using the GitHub API, running static analysis on it, and then a lot of the problems with existing platforms like Sneak are they find all the vulnerabilities, but a lot of those are false positives or things that can't actually be exploited. So we're taking all the vulnerabilities we find, sending those to a triage pipeline to evaluate the actual risk of exploitability. We ran this also on Express.js. So just in the interest of time, I had this already pre-scanned. And we found an example of improper control of code injection. So in this example, we have the found vulnerability and the suggested patch. And we display a diff view of the suggested patch to show the actual solution that the model is suggesting. We can then choose to patch those selected issues, where we'll then take that patch and open a pull request in GitHub so we can actually start securing our code base in a completely automated fashion. So that's Pensar in a couple of minutes. You can find us at pensarai.com. And thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. XGaming. So when I looked at this submission originally, I was like, this looks like a gaming platform. But then I was like, oh, it's a dev tool. Very surprising. Very surprising name.
Hey, hi, I'm Avi. I'm one of the founders at XGaming. And somehow I can't get this to, yeah. So we are building products, LLM products, so that game devs can build interesting and engaging, meaningful applications in their games. So I'll start off with some simple examples here, and I'll tell you about the problems we faced in building these. So this is a Minecraft creator for which we built an on-demand asset generator. And anyone can just sort of prompt their way to creating assets in this simple example that you see. So someone just asked for a fire sword, they got it, and they would just use it to blaze a zombie. Similarly, we did a bunch of, I think it's stuck. We did a bunch of quest personalization and trade personalization applications. I'm unsure why this is not working.
Tech issues are very common tech events.
I'll just quickly get my phone from there.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, yeah, it's probably connected to my hotspot. So yeah, the in-game trader and the other application that we did for this creator took his D7 from 15% to 79%, but I'm not sure why this is just not responding right now.
All right, looks like what we should do is you should drop the YouTube link for this, and we'll post it in the post-event.
For sure. So, but we kept running into a problem with LLMs where LLMs were getting garbage context about players, and that's primarily because of the fact that all the data was like very badly labeled, mislabeled. So we built LLM agents which can properly label your data and communicate the right context to LLMs, and that's pretty much the kind of business that we are in. Think of us as data labeling platform so that you can build downstream LLM applications in gaming, in live ops apps.
Okay, that's enough words after the timer.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right. Our second to last one is going to be Jina AI.
Hey everyone, I'm Han, I'm CEO of Jina AI, and so some people know Jina AI as a model provider. Especially we focus on search foundation models such as embeddings, re-rankers, those small language models that optimize for search. So you can basically consider us as a toolbox which combines all this embedding, re-ranker, reader models, which helps you to build the RAG agent search-like system. And so in particular, we have very good embedding models, which basically rank on top of Hugging Face, this Jina embedding v3, which is multilingual embedding, supports long context, and optimized for different tasks. And we recently just released the Jina Clip v2, which is a multi-modal and multilingual embeddings, allows you to search text over images, image over text, and in both directions, right? So we also have very convenient tools called Reader, which is a kind of like a grounding tools, allows you to fetch any web page and then convert it into Markdown. So this was released back in April. So how it works is basically, let's say you have this URL, which is basically like a Hugging Face landing page of Jina v3, and then you just add this r.jina.ai in front of this URL, and then it gives you the markdown of this web URL, right? So it also works with, let's say, archive paper where you have a PDF, and then internally we have a PDF parser, which is runs very efficiently, and then you just put this r.jina.ai in front of this URL, and it gives you the markdown version of this content, right? So this can, as you can imagine, this can be very useful in grounding for LLM and post-processing and so on. All right, so that's it. So if you go to jina.ai, then you can have all this API and so on. Yeah.
Amazing, perfect timing. All right, so we have one more surprise guest from LogLM. Oh, I see you guys are going to double team this demo.
Well,
So
he's
you're
gonna
get
be
4 minutes
typing.
of content into 2 minutes. That's what I'm expecting.
4 minutes, that's what I heard. So yeah, we are we're LogLM. We're building an intelligent and fast observability assistant. I'm going to hold the mic while Zihao is typing. Go ahead.
Cool, yeah. My name is Z. I'm a co-founder of LogLM. So in the last 3 years, we built a deployment platform that help developers deploy their code from GitHub to production. And what we saw in that was even the team that implemented observability solutions like Datadog, Sentry, they still struggle with operation and debugging and troubleshooting. So that's why we built LogLM to change that forever. So this is going to be the most advanced, hopefully the most advanced observability assistant that you've ever seen so far. And if it's not, let me know a better one. I'll take a look. Cool. Yeah, you can hold it. So this is LogLM. So you can see right now my demo account is connected to some of the integrations right here. I have GitHub. I have my AWS staging account. No production here. Prometheus, Sentry, and all that stuff connected. So what I can do with LogLM is I can pull up data right at my fingertips really quickly. So I can be like, show me a chart for CPU usage, something that I can just ask real quick. This is live demo, so we'll see how it goes. Great, now you can see LogLM pull up some charts with some data, and it shows you all the chain of thoughts and the actual queries here, and you can modify the query if you want. The thing with LogLM is with something like this, you can pin the data into a dashboard. So here I can create a dashboard like that. And the last thing I want to show you is kind of like an end-to-end experience. So right here in my error list, I can see all the layers connected from Sentry GitHub. And when I click investigate, what's going to happen is I'm going to pull in all that context right into the investigation session automatically. And the AI is going to take that information, give you a root cause analysis. And the last thing, it will take you to the right spots, Sentry, CloudWatch, GitHub, to continue troubleshooting from there.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you all of the demo people for demoing, especially for the ones who kept it in under 2 minutes. For the rest of you, I'm sorry I had to yell at you and get you off stage. Got to run things on time here. And speaking of on time, we are done with the event. So we're getting kicked out at 8. Feel free to kind of chat with people, mingle, mix, whatever. Thanks for coming, guys.